Mario! Mario!
He's back. All you had to do was ask.
What makes 2D Mario fun? I understand this is an odd question to ask in my third video about the Italian Plumber Man, but it's worth mentioning with this one in particular. Look, I love the original Super Mario Bros. I said it was the first game I ever played and all. It's virtually impossible for me to hate it, but even though it's aged well, there's no denying it's a bit basic for what it is. You see, there's a common trope people like to call first game syndrome, where the first game in a series always has some jank that makes it a little different from what comes after, which in turn makes the original a bit hard for new players to really get into. Think Zelda 1, Metroid 1, Sonic 1, oh especially Sonic 1, oh god. Anyways, to get back to the point I'm trying to make, most old school Nintendo IPs like Zelda and Metroid didn't really hit their stride until the Super Nintendo came out. If anyone wants to argue about how Zelda 2 is actually better than Link to the Past, let me know in the comments. But those games were made for that fancy 16-bit Super Family computer thingy. Is it possible for Mario to make the same leap in quality with weaker hardware? Well, I'm making a video on it, so what do you think the answer is? Super Mario Bros. 3 might just be the best NES game ever made. Granted, the NES stuck around for a few years after this game, so there's a handful of titles that really push what a Nintoaster could pull off, but from a general standpoint, it's hard to find a top 10 NES game list without Mario 3 showing up somewhere. This game is one of those games I'm willing to bet people who didn't even play video games back in the day at least knew about. I say this as a 23-year-old moron who was -10 when Mario 3 came out, so take that with a grain of salt. But seriously though, the build up to this game was something else. I mean, it was in a movie! It wasn't a good movie, but hey, what better way to promote your game than by taunting your audience about it for 2 years while trying to hide the fact that you were already working on Mario 4. So why did Mario 3 take so long to come over here anyway? I mean, I don't know for sure, but it probably had something to do with the fact that Mario 2, yes, that Mario 2, came out around the same time that Mario 3 did in Japan, and they probably didn't want to completely overshadow it. But that just makes me wonder. Surely they could have localized this game in time for an early 1989 release in the West and called it Mario 2. If anything, Mario 3 is more sequel to Mario 1 than either Mario 2 or Mario 2. I mean, it worked for Final Fantasy. Sure, the names for what are what scares me, and is at least half the reason I've never really given that series a chance. But Kingdom Hearts timeline is another reason. But maybe I've just gotten used to the global launch games have these days. I have no idea how hard it was to localize a game back in the day, but apparently it was hard enough to delay the launch of the game in Europe until 1991. I always wondered why Europe and Australia always got their games last, and then all of a sudden Nintendo decided to give America Pikmin 3 last, and I was not okay. Wait, I'm supposed to be talking about the game. So, like, everything that makes Mario, well, Mario, 90% of it comes from here. If it didn't come from Mario 1, it probably started here. We got more power-ups, a more forgiving health system where you can take 2 hits and have a second-tier power. This was actually a thing that was added to make the game easier in the West. The Japanese version had the older system for Mario 1, which is why Mario still shrinks down to its base form in the credits. That's enough nerd stuff for now. Anyway, we got world maps, toad houses, Zelda references, airships, Boom Boom, Koopalings. Oh. Maybe these games were always formulaic or something. Grass, desert, water, ice, sky, lava. You know, this is the first game to do it, so at the very least it gets a pass. You see, there's a reason you're running around all these overdone tropes. But in order to tell you that, I need to get into character for a second.
It was a legend no one would forget. Everyone thought King Koopa had left the Mushroom Kingdom, but then his doom ship attacked. King Koopa was back, with the greatest danger ever known, his Koopa kids.
Wait, what? Yeah, that's your useless trivia fact you probably already knew. Or maybe you didn't. It's not like everyone is some Mario lore master. Originally, the Koopalings were considered Bowser's kids, which was something that was later retconned. Mario lore is loose like that. I am ashamed to admit I know all these losers by name. Larry, Roy, Lemmy, Wendy O, don't ask me what the O stands for, I don't know. Iggy, Ludwig, and Morton Koopa Jr., which, like, going off the old Koopa Kid lore for a second. Junior? I'm sorry, what? Bowser sure ain't named Morton. Maybe Bowser's dad was named Morton or something. I want to see that family tree. Anyway, these 7 more scattered across the land and stole the wands of the 7 kings of the worlds, or whatever they're called. I can't be bothered to look it up. The princess sends Mario and Green Mario on their way as they go through 90 different action scenes. No, really, that's what the levels are called apparently. Level progression is actually pretty interesting in this game. You see, whenever you clear a scene, what is this, Sonic? I'm calling them levels, I don't care what Nintendo says. Whenever you clear a level, the panel flips over to whichever brother was the one that cleared it. I'll get to 2-player mode in a second. Each world has one or more fortresses that more or less serve as checkpoints. Whenever you clear a fortress, a locked gate door thing will disappear on the map, which is useful because whenever you get a game over, every stage you've cleared gets undone, with the shortcuts being a way to make losing all your progress less painful. This is really interesting in 2-player mode where, depending on the route both players took and the levels they managed to clear, the path may suddenly have a fair number of holes in it. Being the first game in the series to have a map screen, there's plenty of things to interact with besides levels. There's toad houses for you to get spare items, matching minigames that show up from time to time from something that I'm pretty sure is score related, which probably makes this one of the few games I've seen where the score actually does something. Can't wait to get proven wrong just because I was too lazy to read the wiki. Hammer bros that wander the map and make speedrunners cry, a weird slot machine-like minigame that's just straight up rigged, and several secret things that have requirements so archaic I'm amazed people actually discovered them. Anyways, once you eventually reach the world's castle, you immediately get a chance to beat the world's airship, which ends up with a fight with one of the Koopalings. I'm not done talking about the map screen though. If you die during an airship stage, the airship flies off. While that doesn't mean much in the earlier worlds, there's a chance that the airship may run off behind some levels that haven't been completed, especially if you had a game over or two. It actually gives players a reason to clear out of the way levels besides doing them for the sake of 100% completion. Some of the items even help with this. Take the cloud for example. It lets you skip any level of your choosing. Sounds simple enough, but whenever you die, you don't start on whatever stage you died on. Instead, you're booted back to whatever the last panel you flipped over was. Which means unless you have another cloud on standby, that level you just skipped is in your way again. I understand that some might find this system annoying, but I personally really enjoy this risk versus reward dynamic. Do you take the shortest path possible and hope you beat the airship first try? Do you skip a level using the cloud? If you do, you better make sure you can clear whatever comes afterwards. For being a map screen on an NES game, the complexity of it is really interesting, and it makes Mario 3 stand out in terms of difficulty progression. I will say though, that one thing about these levels is the fact that they're a bit all over the place. There's no checkpoints, but to make up for this, the levels are shorter than Mario 1. I don't know if this was a deliberate decision or they just made the levels shorter to have more of them, but as a result, some of these levels are just kinda there. Don't get me wrong, this isn't the only game in the series to have levels that don't leave much of an impact on me, but I feel like if they were just a bit longer, they could have a few more interesting layouts. The levels that do stand out really stand out though. For one, several of the fortresses are incredibly maze-like, almost like they're prototype ghost houses from the later games. Heck, the forts even have boos. Wait, my bad. In this game they're called Boo Deadlies. Right. Then you have levels like that one in World 4, where you can enter doors to switch between regular and giant-sized enemies. Or that one level where you steal a Goomba's property and go on a joyride in Micah Ruby.
You'll never escape the wrathful soul of this shoe!
Side note, I need to mention the fact that I called it Karubi for years because of that one episode of the cartoon. Again, I'm not going to get into it right now, maybe for like 5,000 subscribers or something. You know, if people really want some idiot in his 20s to talk about a series of cartoons that are made by the Sonic Underground people. This shoe is only in a single level and somehow it has more main series representation than Waluigi. There's other rare things besides the shoe. While towards the middle of the game, Frog and Tanuki suits start showing up in Toad houses, the rarest non-shoe power is the Hammer suit, one of the coolest powers that to this day has never been properly brought back. We've gotten close a few times, but everyone knows that hammers are better than boomerangs. So anyways, to get back to the actual plot for a second, every time you beat a world, you get a letter from the princess that contains an item ranging from things that let you skip levels like the Cloud and P-Wing, and then things that serve no real purpose like the music box. I mean, I know it lets you skip Hammer Bros on the map, but is that really worth hogging up an item slot? This is only the case for the first 6 worlds though, because after you beat World 7, you instead get a letter from Bowser saying he kidnapped her while you were running around, which honestly just makes me wondering what happens if you just warp to World 8. Warping in this game works differently than before. Instead of finding dedicated warp zones at specific levels, you instead need to find one of 3 special warp whistles that take you to World 9. Which is just a warp zone and not much else. If you use 2 whistles back to back, you can go straight to World 8, and considering you can get 2 whistles by the end of the first fortress, that has got to be a record for the fastest kidnapping in the history of the series. World 8 is actually fairly interesting. This was back before World 8 was just lava. No, we got skulls, bad touch hands, a section of the map that's completely dark, shame it isn't harder to navigate, and lots of auto-scrollers. And at the end of it all is Bowser's Castle. It's alright. I mean, compared to the last few final levels, it's surprisingly straightforward. I mean, even Wart's Castle was a maze. I do gotta give Bowser some credit, at least, for not trying the same thing again for the 3rd time in a row. Instead of just touching an axe that immediately breaks the bridge he's on, you instead need to lure him into jumping on the same section of the bridge 3 times before he breaks through and falls through. Before he breaks through and falls through. This is a brilliant script. I am good at this. You instead need to lure him into jumping into the same section of the bridge 3 times so he breaks through. Or if you're a cool kid, you can just spam hammers at him. Either way, that's the end of the game as you walk through the door to save the princess, and I'm starting to see why people have trust issues. Anyways, Mario 3 is one of those weird games for me. Like mentioned earlier, these levels range from being burned into your memory to immediately being forgotten. But overall, there's enough going on that I can say the game still has its own identity. I mean, who can forget the evil that is the sun? I mean, with summer highs like this, I'd be angry too. Or what about Big Bertha?
That was delicious!
Kings actually have different dialogue if you clear an airship while wearing one of the suit power-ups. Dude, find your own Freds. I only got 2 of these the whole game. Also, I had to look up how to get the White Mushroom House and coin ship on the wiki in order to get footage for them, and let me just tell you this. The secret shop thing actually works sort of like how the 1-up mushrooms worked in Mario 1, where you need to get a certain number of coins in specific stages in order to get them to spawn on the map. The coin ship, well, alright, so if I'm getting this right, your coin total needs to be a multiple of 11. The 10 digit of your score also needs to match this number as well. So say you have 11 coins, your score needs to end in a 10. If you need to finish the level while the timer is on an even number to make sure your score doesn't get messed up. Do that all, and the Wandering Hammer Bro will turn into the ship. Speaking of Hammer Bros, if you're wondering what I meant by making speedrunners cry, well, to explain this as quickly as possible, whenever Mario dies or clears the stage or whatever, all the Hammer Bros move. Generally they'll only move one spot, but only if that spot is one of the blank ones with nothing on them. They'll keep moving past levels, toad houses, and even other passing Hammer Bros. The direction the Hammer Bro decides to go can greatly affect how long it takes to get a move on, and in some horrible reverse lottery outcome, this can happen. This is just normal Hammer Bro behavior. I'm not even touching the amount of runs that die because speedrunners are hoping for a specific movement pattern. Also, to talk about the Koopalings more, because now I'm just wasting your time with useless knowledge. Did you know they actually have different names in the cartoon? I don't really know why, but in no particular order we have Cheatsy, Hip and Hop, Bully, Big Mouth, Cutie Pie, and Kooky. Sure. Interestingly enough, Bowser's name is used in place of King Koopa a few times.
I am Bowser Koopa, King Koopa to you.
I can't wait to see old Bowser Koopa's face when he gets wind of this.
They what? You what?
Which wasn't the case in Super Show to my knowledge. What did I look like? Some idiot who's seen every episode of Super Show? Okay, so maybe I have, but it's been years since I've seen the ball, and I'm serious about not giving it a show video until 5K. But anyways, that's my thoughts on Mario 3. Hopefully it's a little less rambling than the last few videos since they're not nearly as done to death as Mario 1 and Lost Levels. I mean, it's still done to death, mind you, but there's plenty of little secrets in this game I feel like most people still don't know about. To make a long story short, Mario 3 is the game that cemented Mario as a series that would stand the test of time. The fact that this 8-bit relic is still argued to be the best 2D Mario alongside Mario World speaks wonders of its quality. Heh, wonder. Get it? Yeah, a good chunk of the script was written the night before Wonder came out, but then life happened and my already bad schedule got pushed back again. Like, you seeing this? Like, seriously, are you seeing this? That is messed up. Not even 1,000 subs and I'm already one of those YouTubers that goes dark for months on end. Which, considering some of the people I watch on this platform, yeah, that checks out, honestly. But starting from now, things are going to be different. I'm holding myself accountable, hopefully. Yeah, I might just fall off the editing train again, not gonna lie. Okay, but seriously though, if you like this train wreck, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, feel free to insult my taste in pizza tower levels again. And if you want to motivate me to try to provide you with more free entertainment, maybe hit that subscribe button. Yeah, I'm really doing this because apparently people say it works, and I'll be the judge of that. Also, I was told I actually have proper end cards now, so bye.